We've got every corner of Tobago covered, and it's all to keep you in the know. Hello, I'm Davia Chambers, and welcome to Let's Talk Tobago. This week we're at Blackrock on the picturesque west coast of Tobago to visit a spot that's sure to be your next vacation choice, the villas at Stonehaven. As usual, it's been a pretty busy week for us. Here's what we have in store for you in the next half hour. The official sod turning ceremony signals the start of construction for the Bell Garden multipurpose facility. We look at postpartum depression and how new mothers can cope with the early stages of motherhood. And later, it's time to get in gear for the Tobago UCI International Cycling Classic 2017. These stories and more when Let's Talk Tobago continues. Stay with us.
Our Caribbean neighbors need our help after the destruction of Hurricane Irma. Please contribute by donating emergency relief supplies, water, canned food, tarpaulins, plywood, sanitary packs, and financial support. Drop off items at TEMA's headquarters at Fairfield Complex or the TEMA warehouse at Signal Hill next to the Army camp. For more info, call the 211 hotline or visit www.tha.gov.tt. This initiative is also being supported by Pulse 89.5, Tobago Channel 5, and Trico Industries.
The architecture at Stonehaven Villas was inspired by 18th century French plantations that once dominated the landscape of this very island. The property has 14 spacious villas spread across lush tropical gardens. Now each villa offers a view of the ocean, but there are also features that can charm guests to stay in, like a private infinity pool at every villa. From the comfort at home to the Bell Garden community, residents will soon have a better space for community meetings and activities as the sod was turned to mark the start of construction of the Bell Garden multipurpose facility. We hear more from Caroline Wallace.
The sod has been turned for the new Bell Garden multipurpose facility. It's been a long time in coming for villagers of the Bell Garden district. The current community center was constructed back in the 1960s.
This building serves a very wide community, the Bell Garden, Zion Hill community. This center is where the community gather to celebrate on various occasions. It is where we sit to decide and plan for community activities. It is where the politicians and other officials come to meet and to ask for our opinion and our support. It is where our children come to hold their Easter Bunny shows and our young people their parties and wedding celebrations.
A new multipurpose facility will be constructed, whilst the older center will be refurbished at a cost of $13 million. Once construction starts, the project will be constructed within 8 to 10 months.
The new facility will be constructed in front, and the old facility will be refurbished also for the use of the community council and other village groups. I dare say this, in some ways, is the best of both worlds that you could be getting as a community.
And residents of the district are being urged to take ownership of their center.
2 members of the village council should sit on the management team so that you are informed about the construction details every step of the way. You, the villagers, have also received the assurance that skilled, hard-working members of the community will be engaged at the project on your recommendation.
The project will be delivered by the National Maintenance Training and Security Company Limited. I'm Caroline Wallace for Let's Talk Tobago.
This property officially opened its doors for business 16 years ago. It comes highly recommended by repeat guests who describe it as an excellent place to stay and more than just a paradise. Now this, education about HIV/AIDS is very important, and not only as a preventative measure. It's also to remove the stigma surrounding those affected with the disease and to provide them with the necessary support. Omadara Mills explores a new policy that's tackling this issue. Here are the details.
This light symbolizes Tobago's fight back against HIV/AIDS. Every year on September 24th, Republic Day, hundreds of people turn out for the ceremonial candle lighting and 13-mile HIV/AIDS walk. The event is held by the Friends of Tobago AIDS Society, Fortis. For the past 16 years, the NGO has helped reduce stigma and discrimination towards those living with HIV/AIDS. Tobagonians are also using policy to fight the disease. A memorandum of understanding has been signed for the National Workplace Policy on HIV/AIDS. It will ensure public organizations and businesses create guidelines to promote human rights regardless of an employee's health status.
This national policy is therefore poised to address the concerns of those infected and affected by HIV. Holistically, the national policy will contribute to ongoing national efforts to decrease the spread of HIV, mitigate the impact of the virus on persons, whilst increasing the number of persons who know their HIV status by accessing voluntary testing, counseling, and access to care, treatment, and support.
The policy was created out of talks among the public and private sectors and the trade union movement. In his presentation, Making the Workplace a Supportive Environment, Chief Administrator Ray Sandy strongly advocates for the execution of this policy.
Our workplace policy provides the framework for action to reduce the spread of HIV and AIDS and to manage its impact. Providing workplace care and support helps to ensure that employees infected with HIV/AIDS remain healthy and productive at work. In addition, care and support programs can boost workforce morale by showing that our establishment is truly concerned about the health and well-being of its employees.
Educating staff about HIV/AIDS can also foster a supportive environment. It will also allow workers to remain employed and productive.
Staff sensitization and education is very important in treating with employees infected with HIV/AIDS. It reduces stigmatization, it reduces the risk of infection, and it cultivates an attitude of empathy and caring.
The implementation of the policy is being spearheaded by the Ministry of Labour and Small Enterprise Development through its HIV Workplace and Advocacy Unit. The unit plans to collaborate with THA divisions to sensitize employees about HIV/AIDS. The unit will also work with the Assembly to introduce HIV workplace guidelines across the THA. I'm Amadara Mills for Let's Talk Tobago.
You might call eating at the Pavilion restaurant at Stonehaven inspired dining. The view opens up into the Caribbean Sea. It's the perfect backdrop for daydreaming or savoring a candlelit dinner with that special someone. Or if you're hanging out with friends, the clubhouse might be the place for you to unwind with your favorite cocktail. In Trinidad and Tobago, the Constitution guarantees us certain rights. Public officers must consider these rights in serving their stakeholders. A recent workshop is ensuring these officers are familiar with all the do's and the don'ts. Here are the details in this report.
Every time you pay your taxes or get a hunting permit, you're demonstrating the concept of public law. These laws apply to the general public and outline the relationship between people and the government. Public administrations implementing government policies must have solid knowledge about public law and the principles of good governance. That's the idea behind the recent Good Governance workshop.
You must know all the laws that affect the various areas in which you work. Not just the Constitution and the constitutional rights. But if you don't know the laws, and the laws give the people, the public out there, John Brown, the person in the market, the person in the maxi taxi, give them certain rights, and you didn't know that and you deny them that right, the law may say you deny them the protection of the law.
Mr. Martineau is a senior counsel and former Attorney General. He has some critical advice for public officers when giving written approvals.
If you sign something and you authorize something or purport to authorize something that you have no power to do, then it's what we call ultra vires. It's against the powers you have. It's illegal, it's wrong, and that's your first mistake. So make sure when you sign or approve anything, you have the power to do it. And the only way you can do that is to familiarize yourself with the laws that govern your area of activity.
The public officers that attended the session were advised about the Tobago House of Assembly Act, as well as transparency and equal opportunity. The workshop was hosted at the Victor E. Bruce Financial Complex. I'm Kern De Freitas for Let's Talk Tobago.
We have to take a break, but when we return, the challenges of postpartum depression. Don't go anywhere. Let's Talk Tobago. We'll be right back.
Times. Summer car done, summer car, 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 summer car done, yeah, summer car.
If you are looking for a great location to host your next party, social engagement, or conference, the Stonehaven Villas offers the ideal setting. From weddings to birthdays and special events, the pleasant staff at Stonehaven have seen it all. Now, most women who give birth are affected by some form of depression. Omadara Mills shares ways that you can help someone with postpartum depression and some of the signs you can look for. Here's more.
Having a child should be a joyful occasion, but some mothers still end up with a case of the baby blues. A short-lived period where they are affected by feelings of sadness or poor mood. It affects more than 70% of mothers, but disappears in a couple of weeks. At the other extreme, postpartum psychosis is the most severe form of depression. It can cause mothers to become confused and have thoughts of harming the baby. Then there's postpartum depression, which can develop 1 week to 1 year after the birth. It can be caused by issues such as a lack of physical and emotional support, hormonal changes, family history, or having a previous case of postpartum depression. So expectant mothers must pay attention to their health.
You have to prepare your body physically, mentally, and I always suggest maybe planned pregnancies are better because you have to prepare your body and brain and mind to get pregnant. So take some time, prepare your body physically to conceive and prepare your mind also, and those things will help. And when you get pregnant, all this you need to follow very healthy lifestyles, meaning eating right food, eating healthy food, and taking proper rest and sleeping properly.
Postpartum depression can bring a sense of hopelessness and difficulty connecting with the baby. It can also affect your ability to sleep and your eating habits. So family members are encouraged to look out for any unusual signs.
Family, like especially spouse, and they need to recognize that, because as I told you in the beginning, pregnancy is not a protective factor for any health issues. Actually, it's a risk factor for a lot of health issues. So they need a lot of support psychologically, emotionally, physically, socially, financially, everything. So you need to make sure that family should be there, especially the spouse or boyfriend, whoever the father of the child.
The mental health unit of the Scarborough General Hospital is also equipped to support expectant mothers who display signs of postpartum depression during their checkups.
We do follow the same principles as biopsychosocial model, where we try to develop their self-confidence with counseling or psychotherapy, and in severe cases we have to use medication to control the symptoms.
The mental health unit is seeking to develop a more comprehensive screening method for pregnant women. This way they can be treated for the illness before it gets too severe. I'm Omadara Mills for Let's Talk Tobago.
Stonehaven really has everything you need to relax. Guests can request massages at their villas, join yoga sessions by the pool, or stop in at the restaurant and the bar in time for happy hour. Or if you're keen to get outdoors, the rest of Tobago awaits for you to explore. The Tobago region of the Trinidad and Tobago chapter of Disabled People International is back in action. To commemorate the relaunch, members hosted a small ceremony at the Gulf City Mall in Lowlands. Have a look at this report.
The Tobago region of the Trinidad and Tobago chapter of Disabled People International has been relaunched after 5 years of inactivity. The non-profit organization, which is managed by people with disabilities, recently held a ceremony to mark its revitalization. The group advocates for equality and to create awareness of the issues affecting the disabled. The group has been around since the 1980s.
We represent the organization at many forums, and so we thank God that we didn't collapse as an organization, but we are still around, and that we thank God that we're here today to renew, recommit to our organization.
The motto of Disabled People International is a voice of our own. The organization champions the rights of disabled people across the world. The head of the local chapter says more can be done to integrate disabled people into society.
So much needs to be done for the disabled in terms of our ability to be out there and functioning in society. To get to the airport required special transportation. To get on the plane, well, first of all, to park at the airport is an issue in itself. To get on the plane, Jason has had the problem. Two of our members, as you see, are in wheelchairs, Jillian, and getting into the plane is an issue.
One major objective of the relaunched Tobago region will be to encourage greater participation from parents of children with disabilities.
As an organization and as a people, we stand ready to serve. I want to also let you know that apart from the music program, which is organized by the Consortium for Tobago, next year we are going to do a training of parents workshops to be strong advocates on behalf of their children, to understand their rights, their roles, their responsibilities.
The executive for the Tobago region includes Arlene White, Vice President, Ren Gray, Secretary, Christine Winchester, Assistant Secretary, Hugh Roberts, Treasurer, and Janice Neptune, Public Relations Officer. I'm Kern De Freitas for Let's Talk Tobago.
Safety and security are two things guests don't need to worry about. The property is gated with 24-hour security. Stonehaven also offers spa services in your room, complimentary breakfast, and even facilities for the physically challenged, all to ensure you have the ultimate vacation. So, if you're a product or service provider, how do you tender for a public sector contract? The Tobago Regional Health Authority hosted a workshop for suppliers to ensure they adhere to regulations. The details are in this next story.
Firms seeking to supply the Tobago Regional Health Authority, TRHA, with goods and services are learning how to meet all the required standards for tendering. The TRHA recently hosted a suppliers workshop that will ensure tenders comply with regulations.
We thought it necessary to meet and discuss our requirements and our policies and how you can meet those, right? Because we will have observed, especially in the case of the Tobago suppliers, that there are some, I would say, weaknesses in terms of completing the forms that we require. There are some issues with how you package, how you put together your forms.
The TRH's goal is to ensure all suppliers know what they need to do to be considered a preferred supplier.
We must first be registered with the TRHA. Companies are encouraged to submit their company profile and a completed supplier registration / pre-qualification of supplier's tender package to the head office. This information will be used by the purchasing department to create a database identifying products each company or what products each company carry.
A common error made by suppliers is the use of invalid income tax clearance certificates. This comes under the statutory declarations aspect of the tender process.
This document will have a validity period on it. So the bottom of it will say it's valid until June 2017. If you go for one now, it may go for 6 months, 3 months, that kind of thing. we have been seeing submissions where they are old dates. Now, if you would have registered for a tender or pre-qual last year, you cannot use back last year's VAT clearance certificate.
Once bids are submitted, there's a public opening. At the final stage, a tendering committee evaluates and examines all documents, and a supplier is awarded the contract. I'm Caroline Wallace for Let's Talk Tobago.
Coming up next, the Tobago International Cycling Classic 2017 has started. Stay with us. Let's Talk Tobago. We'll be right back. Visitors to Tobago usually don't stay indoors, and in West Tobago, it's easy to enjoy the sights and the sounds. Along the coast is the Stonehaven Bay with beautiful beaches on either side. And the Stonehaven Villas is just a few minutes away from the famous Buku Reef. It's also a great spot to start your tour of the island from any direction. Now, speaking of tours, it's time again for one of the island's biggest sporting events. For the past 3 decades, the Tobago International Cycling Classic has been attracting riders from all over the globe. It's a week of sun, sea, and sport. Here's more.
10 laps around the Shervan Orkinskio Buku race circuit got the adrenaline going for hundreds of cyclists from places like Europe, America, the Caribbean, and even Trinidad and Tobago. They turned out to compete for top prizes and bragging rights in the annual Tobago International Cycling Classic. The UCI 1.2 sanctioned Tour of Tobago road race continues to be the feature event for which professionals rigorously train. This 120-kilometer race around the island is authorized by the UCI, the world's governing body for competitive cycling. The safety of riders is paramount for this kind of competition, which goes through communities like Castara, Charlottesville, and Speyside.
We want to get this to the international standard that I expect and I'm used to in the UK and in Europe. So that is the aim of the International Classic today. We are going to be looking primarily on the road. We want safety. We're working alongside the police, alongside some very experienced marshals, and to make sure that the riders can ride at their full ability and to make sure the event runs incredibly smoothly and without any hitches.
Other races include the Mount Irvin Buku Junction Bethel Orange Hill race, the Market Square Criterium, the Plymouth Village Criterium, and the Mountain Bike Classic races. With all the sights and attractions along the way, the 5-day event is ideal for the development of a special kind of tourism.
As you know, a big part of this event is the sport tourism factor, and exposing Destination Tobago is a big deal for us.
Secretary of Tourism, Culture and Transportation Nadine Stewart-Phillips encouraged visitors to take advantage of what the island has to offer and share it with their family and friends back home.
When you are not racing the streets of our island, I hope you take the time to enjoy our local dishes, our captivating scenery, and rich cultural diversity. I ask that you highlight in photos and videos, post these on your social media channels using the hashtag Visit Tobago, and help us share the beauty of this rare gem around the world.
The Tobago House of Assembly and the National Lottery Control Board, the NLCB, are the event's gold sponsors for this 31-year-old competition. It ends with a prize-giving ceremony and a farewell lime. I'm Amadara Mills for Let's Talk Tobago.
If you're up for a stroll, there's lots to see in historical Blackrock. There's Fort Bennett for one of the island's spectacular views. The fort was built by Dutch settlers between 1628 and 1636. The village is also home of the Blackrock Sea Festival, where villagers pay tribute to those who lost their lives centuries ago in a war for the island. In our final story this week, we show you how employees of a well-known unit were recognized for their contributions. More in this report.
Doug Conant, former president of Campbell's Soup Company, said, "To win in the marketplace, you must first win in the workplace." He was really saying that recognizing employees' hard work will encourage them to give their best to the organization. It's an idea the Division of Community Development, Enterprise Development and Labor supports. The division celebrated the 15th anniversary of the Community-Based Environmental Protection and Enhancement Program, or CPEP, with an appreciation ceremony.
Events such as these not only improve morale, but also foster productivity in a world where productivity appears to be on a steady decline. As supervisors, we must consider the holistic well-being of our employees and take time out to ensure that they not only work hard, but are rewarded for their efforts. A healthy workforce is key to productivity. Camaraderie and celebration are key to a healthy workforce.
CPEP was established as a national program in 2002. It was aimed at enlightening communities on the need to improve and protect the environment. CPEP was inspired by the Community Enhancement Program initiated by the Tobago House of Assembly in 2001.
Although change is inevitable, what remains constant is the passion, commitment, and dedication of my CPEP family to the sustainable preservation of Tobago, a Tobago that all of us can be proud of.
And the workers were encouraged to further develop themselves using CPEP as a stepping stone.
Do not see CPEP as an early morning work or the be-all and end-all of your career aspirations. CPEP should be a stepping stone to bigger and greater opportunities for you. There are several success stories of past CPEP employees. I recall someone who was employed at CPEP and subsequently graduated law school. Let us aspire for bigger and better things.
Past and present employees of the program were also awarded. During the ceremony, former Health Secretary Cynthia Alfred was recognized for her role in developing the policy for the Community Enhancement Program in 2001. I'm Caroline Wallace for Let's Talk Tobago.
And it's now time to have Your Say, the segment of our program where we hear what you, the viewers, have to say. Today we are asking, what suggestions do you have for the fiscal 2018 budget? While you think about it, we'll have a look at who had their say this week.
What I intend to see for this year's budget is that I hope that the sea bridge and the air bridge, that will be sorted out. Much more funding could be pumped into that. I am hoping that this time around we'll be able to have a new airport for sure, or some sort of measure should be put in place to at least have that airport established. And additionally, I would also like to see much more being done for arts and culture, especially in relation to the visual arts in Tobago.
Greater development in sectors like agriculture, because I believe with the kind of economic challenges we are having now, if we could allow our nation to go back to agriculture some more, the development of our access roads and giving farmers more incentive to go into deeper farming, we could pull ourselves out.
For the 2018 fiscal budget, I would like to see more financial benefits going towards the infrastructure and development of the roads in Tobago especially.
There might be other issues like related to the cost of food prices on the island. Some subsidies should be given to the business people so that the Tobago man don't have to take up a 75% additional cost compared to the Trinidadian for the same product.
We close yet another edition of Let's Talk Tobago, and as always, we thank you for watching. Please email us with your comments or queries about the program, and be sure to visit our website, like us on Facebook, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. From our house to yours, I'm Davia Chambers, along with the Department of Information, Office of the Chief Secretary, Tobago House of Assembly, wishing you a safe and very productive week. We close now with a montage of the Republic Day celebrations. We do hope you enjoy.